Coach Mark here. Now, I don't hope that you're having a great week. I know that you're having a great week. I know that you are having a great week. Now, whether or not you think your week is going the way that you want it to or not, you have to know that you are having a great week. Let me tell you something. If you don't expect to have a great week, you probably won't. It's just like this. I know those days where people sit there and say to themselves, man, I know today is going to be a bad day. And trust me, I used to do this before until I understand how this principle works. You'll wake up and you'll say, man, something just doesn't feel right, and I just feel that today's going to be bad. What generally happens? It ends up being a bad day, okay? So if you want to have a good day, you got to start the day off knowing that the day is going to be good, because whatever it is that you expect, generally, that is exactly what will happen. So know that you're going to have a great week, know that you're going to have a great month, and know that you're going to have a great year. Trust me, all right? Anyway, this week, the story that I want to share with you is a story about a 1973 psychology experiment. Now, this is a long time ago, 1973, 44 years ago, but there's a lot that we can learn from this experiment, all right? So basically what these psychology experts, research experts wanted to do was they wanted to test 67 Princeton Theological Seminary students, right? So these are students that are learning more about the Bible because probably they want to become priests or something like that after they graduate from seminary school. So they took these 67 seminary students and they told them, right, they split the group up in half, right? One group, they said, look, we want you to go down to the next building and we want you to record a sermon that we're going to play at a later date on the Good Samaritan. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with the Good Samaritan story that comes from the Bible, the Good Samaritan story is about this man. I think the guy was a Jew, but I'm not sure 100% because actually the Bible doesn't say whether or not he was, and I tried to do a little research, and I couldn't find out whether he was Jewish or not. But anyway, this man was beaten by some thugs. They took all his money, they took all of his clothes, they stripped him, and they left him for dead on the side of the road. So the man is on the side of the road, and he's moaning and crying, probably very, very close to death. Anyway, a Levite walks by the man, doesn't stop to help him out. A priest walks by the man and doesn't stop to help him out. And then a Samaritan, which at the time was one of the enemies of the Jewish people, he ends up stopping by and helping the man, helping him up, taking him to an inn, and you know, I guess helping the man to get back to health or whatever, right? So that's the story of the Good Samaritan, right? Very popular Bible story. I'm sure those of you that have probably been to Sunday school, you've heard that story because that's one of the few stories that I absolutely remember. That's one of the first stories that I heard, you know, as a youngster. Good Samaritan. Anyway, so these research psychologists told the seminary students that we want you to go over to the next building and recite the story of the Good Samaritan. Okay, we're going to record it and we're going to play it back at a later date. Now, half of the group, now here's the thing, right? So they told all of them the same thing. Half of the group, they told, you're a little bit late, so hurry up, get there as fast as you possibly can. Okay? And then the other half of the group, they said, you know what? You can take your time because they're not going to be ready for you until maybe 5 or 10 minutes. So you have time to get down there. Now, the students that went down there, they did it one by one, right? So they didn't pull everybody in at the same time. They did it one by one. And the group that they told that you're late, hurry, get there as fast as you can, you know, they rushed out, and along the way to the next building where they were going to do the actual recording, there was a man that was off to the side, and he was slumped over, and he was moaning, and obviously he was in some sort of pain, or he was going through something, right? Now, of these seminary students, now this is so crazy to me, of these seminary students that were going to give a sermon on the Good Samaritan. So that thought was on their mind, right? Because they're going to go give this sermon on the Good Samaritan. Only 10% of those seminary students stopped to help the man that they saw right there. Now, they had an opportunity to not only give the sermon of the Good Samaritan, but to actually be a Good Samaritan. And only 10% of them stopped. Now, of the people that were told that, you know what, you have some extra time. They're not going to be ready for you until about 10 minutes. 63% of those people stopped. Now, this isn't just average people that, maybe just walking by and see someone on the side of the road that needs a little help and has to make the decision as to whether or not they want to stop or to help the person or to not help the person. These are seminary students. So these are people that study the Bible, wanting to become a priest at some point in their lives, right? These are people that are going to recite the story of the Good Samaritan. That's what they're on their way to do. Now, just because they're in a rush, only 10% of the people that are in a rush actually stop to help the guy that's in need. And even the people that aren't in a rush, only 63% of them stop to help the guy that we need. Now, there's like a lot of important lessons that we can learn from this story. One, sometimes we can't just be such in a rush to do everything in life. We can't just, sometimes we get so caught up, and I'm guilty of this myself. We get so caught up in what we're doing, we're not even paying attention to what's going on around us. We're not even paying attention to the fact that we have an opportunity to help someone that's in need because we're in such a rush. So I want you guys to be mindful and pay attention to what's going on in life. And every time you have an opportunity to do something to help someone, don't use the excuse that you're in a rush or you can't because you don't have the time to not be able to help the people that need to be helped. Earlier on today, I was having lunch with a good buddy of mine, and we were talking. I don't even know how we came up on this subject or whatnot, but I was telling him about two specific times that I got into fights during high school. And these two times really stood out to me because I didn't really get into a whole lot of fights in high school. One time was in the 9th grade, and the second time was in the 11th or 12th grade. And both times, and I think this is why they really stood out to me, both times that I got into altercations with other students was because I was sticking up for someone that needed my assistance, someone that was unable to stick up for themselves, right? And those were the altercations that I got into. And what I was saying to my buddy, and what it really kind of even brought to my mind, because this happened years and years ago, is that sometimes we need to be able to stick up for people that can't stick up for themselves. Now, I could have been like the priest or the Levite that said, or the seminary students that said, you know what? That doesn't involve me, or I don't have time. Let me not stick up for this person. Let me go ahead and do what I need to do. But at that point in time, in my 9th grade and my 11th or 12th grade year, I decided that I was going to stop what I was doing, regardless of what I had going on at the point in time, and stick up for someone that needed to be helped. And sometimes we have to just remember that. We have to be able to regardless of how busy we think we are, we need to be able to stop and help those who are in need. There's a great quote by Martin Luther King that says, injustice anywhere results in is a danger to justice everywhere. And I want us just to keep that in mind, especially with everything, the climate of what's going on in the country right now. And we have to be strong enough people to make sure that we stand up for injustice anywhere, because injustice anywhere is a danger to justice everywhere. All right. Hope you guys got something from that story. And I hope you guys, I know that you guys will have an absolutely amazing rest of your week. All right. Take care.